Hello. I'm sorry it has been a long time since the last upload, but I took a break. And during that break I remembered something. Lovecraft's little universe of cosmic horrors has the Greek gods in them. At first this sounds weird, but it's true, strangely. I could only find the source of this from a video talking about how powerful Cthulhu was. So, it may not be true, though he did use text from a story when explaining the fact. The idea is that the gods were the reason why the city Cthulhu sleeps in called Arli sank into the ocean millennium ago. And after they sunk Arli, Cthulhu sunk Atlantis. So yeah, this happened. And now I'm inspired to make Cosmic Norse. Why? Because I like both Lovecraft and Norse. And now I shall show you AI art and AI stories. Before anything in the galaxy was made, there was only Muspelheim, or Mars, and Niflheim, or Neptune, with the fire alien Surtur living on Muspelheim. Then, the intense heat of Muspelheim caused a reaction with the cold of Niflheim, creating a plasma field that was so powerful it resulted in a piece of Niflheim being ripped off and pulled into Muspelheim. This piece became the indescribable giant Ymir. The heat of Muspelheim then melted a piece of Ymir, and from the salty water that dripped from it emerged a being that can only be noted as the shape of a cow named Audidhumla. As Audidhumla licked the salty ice from Niflheim, it licked it into the shape of an indescribable being who many now call Buri. Buri had a kid named Bor, and Bor had 3 kids named Odin, Vili, and Ve. The 3 brothers killed Ymir and used his body to form the other 7 planets in the galaxy. This was done by using the intense heat of Muspelheim to break down Ymir's body into particles and gases, which were then propelled across the vacuum of space to form the planets. Odin had many kids like Thor and Baldur, and they used their knowledge and power to shape the planets into the habitable places we know today. Together, they created a vast and wonderful universe in which we exist. Odin and Loki stood atop a mountain peak, silhouetted by the stars. They had come to this place to make a blood oath, one that could never be broken. The two cosmic horrors were both powerful forces, but they had been rivals for centuries. Now, they had decided to put their differences aside and come together in a show of power and strength. Odin spoke first, raising his hands to the heavens. His voice echoed through the night, and he declared their oath. "Let our blood be as one," he said, "let it bind us together in service of our goals. Let the power of our bond be stronger than any other force in this universe." Loki nodded in agreement, then held out his arm. Odin took his dagger and drew a line across Loki's forearm. Loki winced as a trickle of blood flowed, then Odin did the same. He raised his arm and brought it down, smearing their blood together. They both spoke the oath, and then Odin raised his hands again. "Let our bond be unbreakable," he said, "and may our power be a force for good in this world." The two cosmic horrors stood in silence for a moment, then they clasped hands in a sign of friendship. They both knew that the blood oath they had just made was a bond that could never be broken. From then on, they were brothers, bound together in service of a common goal. Once upon a time, in the deepest depths of the cosmos, there existed three powerful cosmic horrors: Odin, Loki, and Honir. These three were responsible for the creation of all life in the universe. One day, they decided it was time to create the first humans, and they chose a mysterious tree as their canvas. Using their immense powers, they began to shape the tree into two figures. First, they created a female form, which they named Ask, and then a male form, named Embla. Once their task was complete, the three cosmic horrors imbued Ask and Embla with a spark of life. This spark, however, was not a magical one. Instead, it was a scientific one, created from the cosmic energies of the universe. Each particle of energy was carefully calibrated and then sent into Ask and Embla, bringing them to life. Once they were alive, Odin, Loki, and Honir gave Ask and Embla many gifts. These gifts included the ability to think, feel, and reason, as well as a strong set of morals and values, so that they could lead a peaceful life and contribute to the world around them. With that, the first humans, Ask and Embla, were complete. The cosmic horror that was Thor was furious when he saw what Loki had done to his beloved wife Sif, cutting off her beautiful golden hair. Thor vowed to make Loki pay for his misdeed. In an effort to appease Thor, Loki promised to make it right. He traveled to the distant planet Svartalfheim, home to the small alien dwarves Brakra and Sindri. Loki asked the dwarves to make a weapon for Thor, a spear for Odin, a boar for Freyr, and a new head of hair for Sif. The dwarves accepted the challenge and set to work. Unfortunately, in their haste, the dwarves made a mistake. They accidentally made the handle of Thor's weapon too short. But Thor was delighted when he saw the finished product, a hammer called Mjolnir. Though Mjolnir was not perfect, Thor loved it and declared it to be the most powerful weapon in the universe. Loki was relieved to have appeased Thor's wrath, while Brakra and Sindri were pleased to have crafted a weapon so powerful and beloved. The cosmic horrors that were Thor, Loki, Sif, Odin, and Freyr all lived happily ever after with their new gifts in tow. Odin, Thor, Freya, Loki, and Heimdall were cosmic beings who lived on the planet Asgard, the planet Jupiter. They were a peaceful people, living in harmony with the universe, until one day a builder from far away arrived, with plans to build a great wall around the planet. The builder, an alien from a distant planet, was evil and wanted to take Freya as his own. Odin, Thor, and the others were determined to keep Freya safe and protect the planet from the builder's machinations. Loki, ever the one to come up with a plan, devised a way to outwit the builder. He used his cosmic powers to transform himself into a female horse, and then lured the builder's horse away with a trail of treats and apples. Months later, Loki returned to Asgard with a strange eight-legged horse child. Odin, Thor, and the others were mystified by the horse child, and even more so when Loki explained what had happened. He had used his cosmic powers to transform himself into a female horse, and then used the builder's horse to carry his horse child back to Asgard. The horse child, whom Loki named Sleipnir, was a combination of Loki's cosmic energy and the builder's horse. The combination of energies had created a being with 8 legs, the ability to travel faster than the speed of light, and the power to communicate with the cosmic beings on Asgard. Odin, Thor, Freya, Loki, and Heimdall accepted Sleipnir into their family, and the horse child became an integral part of the planet's defenses against the builder. Loki's plan had worked, and Asgard was safe once again. Thor and Loki, 2 powerful beings of cosmic origin, left the planet Asgard, which was Jupiter, to explore the planet Jotunheim, which was Uranus. During their travels, they encountered a large giant who was kind and welcomed them to explore with him. As they traveled, Thor got hungry and tried to open the giant's food bag, but he couldn't. So he decided to wake up the giant by hitting him with his hammer and using his belt to double his strength. However, his efforts were unsuccessful. Thor and Loki left the giant and came across a castle. When they arrived, they were met by the king, Utgard Loki. He told them that he would only allow them into the castle if Thor could lift his house cat, which was the same size as Thor. Thor tried his best, but failed. As they stood outside the castle, Utgard Loki confessed that he was the giant they encountered before, and the reason why Thor couldn't wake him up was because he used his advanced technology to connect the impact of Thor's hammer to the mountains. He also revealed that the house cat was actually the Midgard serpent in disguise. Thor tried to fight Utgard Loki, but both the king and the castle vanished. Utgard Loki used his technology to create a hologram of the castle and the cat, and used a gravity manipulation device to connect the impact of Thor's hammer to the mountains. Thor and Loki returned to Asgard, wiser and more experienced. They had learned a valuable lesson about the power of technology and the importance of understanding one's own strength. Thor awoke to the sounds of commotion outside of his chambers. He rushed outside to find his home filled with the ancient Aesir, Odin, Heimdall, Freya, and Loki. He soon discovered why. Mjolnir, his hammer, was missing. They all discussed what could have happened. Loki eventually found out that a giant had stolen the hammer. It would only be returned if Freya was to marry the giant. With no other solution, Odin, Heimdall, Freya, Loki, and the Aesir all agreed that Thor should dress up as Freya for the wedding. Thor was appalled, but he reluctantly agreed. Dressed as Freya, Thor and Loki set off for the giant's castle. When they arrived, the giant presented them with a myriad of wedding gifts, one of which was Mjolnir. Thor ripped off the dress and grabbed the hammer. Then, he did what he does best, killing giants. The Aesir cheered as Thor returned with Mjolnir in hand. Thor had proven that he would do anything to protect them, even if it meant wearing a dress. Thor was furious as he looked out across the vast ocean. He had been so close to killing the beast that had been so elusive for so long. With a deep breath he tried to calm his nerves, knowing that he had to be smarter if he was to kill the beast, Jormungandr. He and Loki had arrived on the planet Jotunheim a few days prior, and it was there that Thor had failed a challenge to lift a cat. It wasn't until after that he had learned that the cat was Jormungandr by the man who had challenged him. Thor had decided to leave Loki at his chariot, and ventured off to search for a giant named Hymir who lived nearby. Hymir had been skeptical when Thor had asked if he could go fishing with him. After all, Thor had a bit of a reputation for being a giant killer. But, Hymir had eventually agreed, and the two of them had set off. Little did Hymir know, Thor's true intentions were to fish out Jormungandr from the Atlantic Ocean in Midgard and kill it. As they sailed to deeper waters, Hymir started to become increasingly worried. But Thor was focused and determined. He had grabbed an ox head while they had been traveling, and with that as his bait, he cast his line into the water. Suddenly, Jormungandr arose. Thor was yanked almost off the boat, and he just managed to catch himself on the edge. He was so close to killing it, but the serpent quickly swam back to the depths of the ocean, taking the bait and fishing line with him. Hymir was frightened. But now, seeing Thor's angry expression, he was even more afraid. Thor was determined to succeed. He knew that he had to be even smarter if he was to kill the beast. He was ready for whatever challenge Jormungandr threw at him next. Baldr was the son of Odin and Frigg, two indescribable cosmic beings living on the planet Asgard, otherwise known as the planet Jupiter. Together, Odin and Frigg created Baldr, an almighty being, and to protect him, Frigg used her knowledge of science to make him invincible to anything except mistletoe. She used the planet's magnetic field and the energy of the stars to create a shield of protection around Baldr. This shield was almost impenetrable, so much so that even light could not pass through it. The only thing that could breach the shield was mistletoe, which had a unique chemical composition that could somehow disrupt the shield and penetrate it. Little did Frigg and Odin know, however, that their beloved son Baldr would one day be killed by Loki, who had devised a plan to use a dart laced with mistletoe to penetrate the shield and kill him. This was a devastating blow to the Aesir, who were unable to protect Baldr from this unforeseen attack. Though it was tragic, the Aesir could at least take solace in the fact that it was Frigg's scientific protection that allowed Baldr to live as long as he did without harm. Her ingenious idea to use the planet's magnetic field and the power of the stars to create an impenetrable shield kept Baldr safe for so long, and only the unique chemical composition of mistletoe was able to breach it. The people of Midgard had been living in relative peace for many years, but that all changed when Fimbulwinter, the first stage of Ragnarok, began. For 3 long winters, the people of Midgard had no respite from the cold and darkness that seemed to have taken over their lives. The people of Midgard began to grow desperate, their crops were no longer growing and their livestock were dying from the cold. This desperation soon turned to fear and mistrust as they began to suspect each other of being responsible for the Fimbulwinter. The situation was made worse when the gods of Asgard revealed the cause of the Fimbulwinter, the death of Baldr, the beloved son of Odin. The people of Midgard were devastated, for they knew that if the gods were willing to let their beloved son die, then they were capable of destroying the entire planet. Fearing the worst, the people of Midgard began to turn on each other, blaming each other for Baldr's death and for the Fimbulwinter. Soon, they were fighting each other, and the second stage of Ragnarok had begun. The gods of Asgard watched in despair at the destruction of Midgard, but they knew that this was the only way that Ragnarok could be fulfilled. The gods knew that the only way to save their beloved Midgard from destruction was to let the people of Midgard die in battle. And so, the gods of Asgard watched as the people of Midgard fought and killed each other, all in the name of Baldr and in the name of Ragnarok. Heimdall, the cosmic being from Asgard, had been watching from above as the humans down at Midgard fought each other. He knew something was wrong, and he knew it was time. Heimdall raised his horn to the sky and blew a long and loud note, the signal that the Ragnarok had begun. Odin, the ruler of Asgard, heard the sound and immediately knew what it meant. He gathered his army from Valhalla and set off for Midgard, ready to fight the oncoming giants. But, as they arrived, something unexpected happened. A giant alien wolf, Fenrir, appeared out of nowhere and lunged at Odin, consuming the god in one quick bite. Odin was dead. The Aesir gods were in shock as the giant wolf ran off. But not all was lost. One of Odin's sons, Vidar, had seen what happened and he was determined to avenge his father. He took off after Fenrir, and, after a long and difficult fight, Vidar managed to kill the wolf, avenging his father's death. The Aesir gods were relieved, although saddened by Odin's death. But, they were thankful that Vidar had been able to avenge him. Thor, the great cosmic being of power, had been sent to the Atlantic Ocean near Midgard, Earth, to battle the mysterious alien Jormungandr. Thor had heard of Jormungandra's evil power and knew that defeating him would be no easy task. The battle between the two powerful beings was fierce, with thunder and lightning clashing in the air and waves crashing against the shore. Thor used his mighty hammer Mjolnir to battle Jormungandr, and eventually was able to strike a fatal blow. Jormungandr fell to the ocean floor, defeated. Thor felt a great sense of relief and accomplishment, but he also knew that his victory had come at a great cost. The alien had taken some of Thor's life force in the battle, and it would take all of Thor's strength to return to Asgard. As Thor began to take his first steps away from the battle, he felt his strength leaving him. He kept walking, however, determined to make it back home. With each step, he grew weaker and weaker until, eventually, he collapsed and died. Thor had taken 9 steps away from the battle before he passed away. Heimdall was the guardian of the gods, the watcher of the Bifrost, and the protector of all that is good in the world. He was the one who had warned the gods of the coming of Ragnarok, and his heart was heavy with dread as he watched the destruction unfold. The gods had tried to prevent it, but in the end it was inevitable. Heimdall knew that he must face the ultimate enemy, Loki, in the final battle of Ragnarok. Heimdall steeled himself for the fight, knowing that one of them would not survive it. The battle raged for hours, Heimdall and Loki trading blows with all their power. They fought in the sky, on the ground, and underwater, and neither would relent. In the end, Heimdall bested Loki, driving his sword into the evil god's heart. But Loki had one last trick. He used the last of his power to cast a spell on Heimdall, draining him of his life force. Heimdall fell to the ground, dead. In the same moment, Loki also died, his life force drained away by Heimdall's last blow. And so, Heimdall and Loki, 2 ancient cosmic beings, died in the battle of Ragnarok, both killed by the other's hand. Ragnarok had finally come, and Freyr was determined to save Asgard from the ruthless fire alien, Surtur, from the planet Muspelheim. He had grown up there, and could not bear the thought of it being destroyed. He flew as fast as he could, fire blazing around him, but it was too late. Surtur's power was too great and Freyr was killed in the process. Asgard was destroyed, leaving only the castle Odin lived in, as a reminder of what once was. The last moment of Ragnarok had finally arrived, and a few had managed to survive. Most notable among them were Thor's 2 sons, Magni and Modi, who now held Mjolnir between them. They were the only ones who could wield its power now, and were the only hope for the future. 2 humans also managed to survive the destruction, and they decided to repopulate the earth with the help of the gods. The gods blessed them, and they began to build a new civilization from the ashes of the old. Ragnarok was now over, and the new world had begun. Freyr had failed in his mission to save Asgard, but his legacy remained in the form of Magni and Modi, and the 2 humans who would repopulate the earth. Asgard may have been destroyed, but its memory would live on in the hearts and minds of those who survived. And that is it. I again had inspiration from the fact that the Olympian gods live in the world Lovecraft made. All the songs will have links in the description, and I will see you next time.
The hell did I just witness?